On this week's episode, a review of the new Boston Strangler movie filmed locally and an interview with a core actress from the newsroom scenes. Big Hollywood and local stars film in an iconic Boston neighborhood, and are you willing to pay more for a better seat at the movie theater? This is The Hub on Hollywood. I'm James.
I'm Jamie, and I'm not paying for nothing extra. Anyways,
no, sir.
Here we go.
All right, Jamie, Massachusetts, Boston
James.
really turned into Hollywood this weekend. This past week, really. It's been amazing seeing not only this Boston Strangler movie making its debut on Hulu, it's been the buzz all around town, but also local boys, Matt Damon and Casey Affleck, famously from Massachusetts area, Boston region, they've been spotted up and down and all over the city because they're filming their new movie, The Instigators. It's pretty exciting. Have you seen the photos, the video of them roaming around?
Oh yeah. And it's always wonderful when they bring work here to town. Famously, Good Will Hunting, The Town, like all of the great classic Boston movies that they've been a part of, and they continue to bring work here. And actually, Ben Affleck has started a new production company that will hopefully be bringing more and more projects like this into perpetuity, because people can't get enough of them, and they can't get enough of Boston, because obviously we're the center of the universe. But it's been great to see them running around and featuring a local institution, a local restaurant that's been around for almost 100 years, right?
Yeah, Bova's Bakery. That place is open 24/7, but about a week or so, more than a week ago, they posted a note on their front door, on their glass entrance, and saying, "Hey, everybody, big news. Sorry for the inconvenience, but we will be closed during X amount of time because of this new movie that's being filmed here." And of course, everyone's okay with that in the North End. Aside from a few missing parking spots and a few much more congestion down those narrow streets, many of the interviews that we saw from local news channels, a lot of people were jazzed, they were hyped up, they were very excited to see the old Boston boys back in town and filming. The whole area, the North End, looks such like Boston. Like, imagine Boston in your mind, what it looks like. That is the North End. It's like Little Italy. It has the best restaurants, best food, best people, the best characters out there. And it was fun because one of the reports that we saw, like, they were filming early in the morning, late into the night, with Matt Damon, Casey Affleck, and the rest of the crew putting in as much effort and time and work into this confined space and time and location. But really cool to see Boston, the hub of the universe, showcasing our beauty, our people. And it was also really cool because they showed some scenes outside of a Boston Police Department, a Boston fire station over there. And so it's really cool to see first responders getting their spotlight and their time. So it has that real authenticity, and love to see that here.
Excellent. And the name of that production company, it's Ben and Matt together. They're no longer work for hire. They're now making their own movies and, making it happen, bringing that work here. It's called Artists Equity. Hoping to see a lot more projects there. And we have a lot more exciting scenes from this film that they're working on right now called The Instigators. So we're expecting chase scenes and all kinds of really interesting things that are being casted for, that they are looking for folks. So stick around at the end of this episode where we'll have some casting calls for you. That is what we do here on The Hub on Hollywood. Not only do we talk about the movies, we try to get you in the movies. And they are looking for a lot of background for this project in particular right now through Boston Casting. So stick around to hear more about that.
Yeah, and I understand that this movie is coming out to one of the streaming services later this year. But speaking about, streaming versus the in-theater experience, the movie-going experience, we have to talk about this new survey that came out that says young moviegoers are more likely to pay for good seats. Now, I have issues with this already because we know that young moviegoers is like an oxymoron. At this point, you don't see too many people, especially younger kids, younger generations, going to the movie theater because they have everything so easily accessible at home on their phones. But This new survey says, this is from Morning Consult, found that 54% of 18 to 26-year-old Gen Z ticket buyers and 46% of millennials between 27 and 42 said that charging more for the most desirable seats is appropriate for movie theater chains. I think there must be something behind this survey because I do not believe this. As a millennial myself, I think I could speak definitively for all millennials out there that I think it's a bad move that movie theaters are going the route of the actual like Broadway and theatrical performances where being up close and up near the stage is a good thing and you are willing to pay more for those tickets. But in a movie theater, there really aren't that many bad seats unless you are in the very front row. I think there's something fishy with the survey is what I'm saying. AMC famously is promoting the idea, and I think he is moving forward with tiered seating prices for you can have the middle seat and you pay more. And they say, oh, people are more willing to pay for the luxury of this. I think it's just another money grab, and I think it's a terrible move for struggling movie theaters.
Look, I think the whole idea is offensive, honestly. Why must you nickel and dime every aspect of life and try? I agree, exactly what you said, a money grab. It's just another money grab because we're not being squeezed enough in every other aspect of our entire lives. The cost of everything is going up, and it just feels like there's no spaces left where you can just exist and not have to pay or pay up the ass. I apologize. But it just feels like that. And I don't want to see the squeeze put on this sort of sacred place that everyone loves to go to and experience films that change their lives. And you go with your friends and your family. And, it's also one of the greatest places to go when you're a teen and when you're a kid and when you're a teenager and you're just expanding your world. And to make it that much more out of reach, even if it's just a couple of dollars, it's a pain.
Yeah, what if you're priced down or priced out of a good seat? Like, what if other people who have more money to spend on a better seat pay up and fill all the good seats up, and then you have people who are just going, again, it costs money for the ticket, it costs money for concessions, for drinks and candy and treats, and now you have to pay to make the sacrifice of like, okay, I'm willing to go the cheaper route, but sit all the way in the front. And so, I don't know. I think it's bad. I think the movie theater has a history of making bad decisions, trying to like save the movie industry, but I think they're just shooting themselves more and more in the foot, and things like this are more likely to drive away potential moviegoers, myself included. So, no, I think there's something fishy with this survey. I'm going to do some more research and find out what Morning Consult is all about. You
do that investigative reporting on that. And honestly, with theaters too, I feel like it needs to be going in the other direction, not this direction. We need to be making the arts more accessible, not less.
Yeah, let us know what you think. Well, are you willing to pay more for good seats? We're going to create our own survey right now. Comment down below if you are more willing to pay for good seats. Include which generation you are, Generation Z, Generation X, Millennials. Comment down below. We are on all the social media platforms, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, at Hub on Hollywood. We're on YouTube, so comment, like, subscribe. And if you are listening to us on any of the major podcasting streaming services like Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, leave us a 5-star review and tell your friends. Now, continuing the train of awesome movies filmed in Boston, we have to talk about Boston Strangler, which is now streaming on Hulu, starring Keira Knightley and Carrie Coon, in the story of these two female journalists back in the 1960s who really pushed and paved the way for this investigative reporting for this story that was happening locally here in Boston, that at the time, the local police department and the other news agencies, newspapers were not taking seriously, or at least not connecting the dots. So Carrie Coon and Keira Knightley are fantastic in their roles as these two women who really were fighting everybody from every angle. Not only were they fighting pushback from their news director inside the newsroom saying, hey, this is a really important story, let me work on it, even if I have to on my downtime. I think there's something here that we need to talk about. All these women being strangled and nobody really caring at the time. They had to push back against the Boston Police Department, who at the time was really not focusing on it. It was kind of brushing it under the rug and really taking the very slow route in their investigation and not taking it very seriously and ignoring help from other outside agencies. And it also is a really good murder mystery because at the end of the day, there's a lot of things left in the air of who really done it. And if you know the real story, then that is actual and true to this day of who really did this. Jamie, you were in this movie, and I know that you were in a bar scene, and I think also in a scene that may have been cut from the movie, right?
Right. Yes, I had been hired to do some dancing actually in that bar. It was a very long couple of nights where it was 2 or 3 days where we had the location and had to shoot all of the bar scenes all at once. And if you listen to our last episode, I talked about all of our costume changes. It was January. I know now. We did costume changes outside in a freezing tent, like 6 different outfits, and some of which were for summertime. So that was an interesting experience. But the funnest part of that was that I was hired in particular for this dance scene with Keira Knightley and Carrie Coon. And so that was just a ton of fun doing the old-timey like jigs and whatnot. Unfortunately, that scene did not make it in the movie. But anyone who does background or who works on films in general knows that there's so much that gets shot that doesn't necessarily make it to the big screen, that gets left on the cutting room floor. But you get to keep those experiences and those memories forever.
One thing I loved about this movie also was just the aesthetic. Like, Boston is transformed. You go back in time to the 1960s, so you see all the classic old police vehicles, the regular vehicles. The great thing about Boston is that it still looks historic. There's so many streets that if you took a black and white picture of it, you could say it was taken in the 1960s, minus the Toyota Corollas and the Nissan Camrys in the background. But the buildings are beautiful. The costumes were amazing, true to the period. Looked very accurate. And I don't know, just the feel, the vibe of this. It must have been fun kind of going back in time for that too.
Absolutely. And just speaking with one of the other actresses who was on set with me, we're going to have her interview in just a few minutes. Nicole Johan Rand, who is core newsroom on this, which was very exciting. So she got to spend a lot of time on this movie. She had been mentioning to me before how this is sort of like noir, like it feels like very much like a noir film, like very dark and mysterious, and with a lot of death and damsels in distress and mystery and all of that I think comes across very, very well, and that sort of dark and mysteriousness, plus, as you mentioned, the great scenery and locations that we have here in Boston, which much of our area in downtown Boston is actually preserved that way on the exterior by historical societies and by the city, to keep certain areas, especially the Back Bay, in that classic condition. So great location for movies that continue to be shot here.
There we go.
And if you listened to the Hub on Hollywood last year, a year and a half ago, we brought you the casting calls for Boston Strangler, and we continue to bring you casting calls for these big movies. Always exciting. It's always fun when you see these locales being transformed and taken over, and the big A-list celebrities coming down and spending time here. We love it. This film, it also takes on the patriarchy, the story of how, the men didn't really care what was happening to these women. And I love how it embodies that journalism, it's not just your job, it's your life. And it's your contribution to society. It's your way of fixing the ills of the world, and how this became their lives. And they sort of forced those dots together, and they brought this story, to the forefront of people's minds, and to try to save these women and try to save their town. So that was a really cool aspect of the film too.
The investigative part was my favorite part of it, because like how they did it back in the day, and how it's still done really, it's still today too, but they did it by making phone calls, knocking on doors, walking into bars, talking to cops, and those that are frustrated with the system itself too. There are a lot of frustrated people they spoke to that did believe the investigation was going slowly, that it wasn't being taken too seriously, that the new and advanced modern techniques of investigative police work wasn't really being done. And so you have people who do come forward, whether it was on the record or giving background information saying you're on the right track, talk to this person, or, and going on the record sometimes and putting their own reputation on the line to make sure that a killer is caught and this whole thing is taken seriously. So if you are into that investigative story like Spotlight, if you're into that kind of work, you see a lot of that here, and that's what kept me very invested in this story, as well as the dynamic of these two women. So this is a great movie on many different levels. And so I recommend Boston Strangler, streaming now on Hulu. I really wish this came out in theaters too, because I thought this would have done really well in the movie theater at the box office. But if you have Hulu, it's a big recommendation from me.
All right. And I think that this is a perfect time to jump over to our conversation with Nicole, who was core newsroom on this film. That means she got to spend lots of time with Kira, lots of time with the film crew, in all of those tense scenes that were filmed in the newsroom. You can see her walking around and hanging out in the background, taking her assignments. She was, getting her assignments around the table. So, without further ado, here's our interview with Nicole Johan Rand. We are joined by Nicole Johan Rand, a prolific local actress and one of the core group of actors in the newsroom scenes on the new Boston Strangler. Nicole, thank you so much for being with us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
So excited for you and for this great movie. I understand you finally got to watch it.
Yes.
What was your first reaction, seeing yourself in the final film, for the first time when you got to watch it on Hulu, right?
Yes. I watched it the morning it came out, really the morning it started streaming on the 17th. And then I had to stop it halfway through because I had to go to a fitting for something else. But, but something, when you worked on something a lot, it was a year ago, you really are anxious to see it. It was, well, I was in the trailer a little bit. Mm-hmm. So that's always exciting. And then, seeing what we worked so hard and, so many days when you're core, you're there every day. The set was amazing. It was built at New England Studios. So it wasn't an actual office, an office that it was a pre-existing office. It was one that had been built, and it was just amazing. Of course, the first time you can see me, I'm in the background, a little blurry. But then the second time you see me, I'm sitting with Keira Knightley while we're getting our assignments, because I was a fellow lifestyle reporter with her. And it was really amazing seeing it, how different it looked on screen rather than, we're used to just seeing, all the cameras, all the lights, all the people who are on set. And so seeing it on screen in its completed form was really great. It looked amazing.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know. I've been on a lot of these sets with you before.
Yes,
we've crossed paths many times. Yeah, it's phenomenal what they can do with stagecraft and how this office that might be inside a giant warehouse. They make the lighting look like there's sunlight outside. Or yes. I've seen one where they had an entire city street built inside a warehouse.
Wow.
So it was just it's amazing what they can do. Really. And can you talk a little bit about your reaction, when you first got this role, when you knew you were going to be core, newsroom on this? And what was it like working with Keira and the other principals?
It was, we had a terrible January. It was last January. January. Unfortunately, my dog passed away. I mean, it was awful. And there was no work. We had come off, a lot of work with Spirited and The Finest Kind, which you were, this was after, but things, it all runs into each other. But, and all of a sudden I got this call from Billy Dowd asking me for a bunch of dates for the Boston Strangler. And I was blown away. I was so, we love when we hear a bunch of dates in a row. I mean, we don't think how tiring it is. We don't think of anything. We're just like, yes, it's going to be awesome. And the period piece clothing, we don't think of any of that. So I was so thrilled to get it. And it was, Kira was there every day, sat with her a couple of times. She was really lovely. She gave off that aura of just being friendly and not,
not pretentious or anything like that.
She made eye contact. She was super sweet and just really fun to watch because she's an excellent actress. And Carrie Coon is very talkative. She will, if you were standing next to her, she would talk and ask you where you were from. And she was great. She was a real sweetheart, very nice. And the other, minor players were terrific. Matt Ruskin, who was the director, was fantastic. Mariela, who was the first AD, was great. I mean, it's just everything about it was really, the crew and the other actors, the principal actors were delightful. And it was a joy going in every day,
That's great to hear because, some sets are a little more tense than others. Yes. So it's nice to hear that this was, a great environment all the way around. How much did you love these costumes?
Okay. It's so funny. They were great. We went to a pre-fitting, as you know, you go to a fitting and we needed a couple outfits because it was going to change, it went over, months and changed seasons and what have you. And I believe we were fitted for 4 and then they kind of ran out of outfits. So we started, they said, go shopping and we just kind of start looking kind of for our own outfits. And, I'm so glad one outfit that I kind of found at the end didn't make it to the final. God, I'm like, watch out. This one will make it because it was huge. And I looked like just a muumuu with a belt. But they were so detail oriented on this movie, especially on the set. Every desk had an ashtray. It was because back in 1962, 63, 64, everybody smoked. We got smoke pay every day because it was,
nice.
There was an atmospheric smoke, and I did read one of the reviews said something about it being a noir type of movie, now, they don't do noir very much anymore. And it did have that feel. It had that kind of dark feel. We had a retractable roof. So in the studio. So it would either open or close depending on what look they wanted it to have. But it definitely had that murky, smoky, dark feeling to it.
Wow, that's amazing. I haven't gone to that studio yet.
Oh, really?
So, no, I've been to a couple of the other ones, like where they shoot Kevin Can F himself and a few of the others, but I haven't been to the big new one. So, just for a second, tell me about that because it sounds awesome. I can't wait to work there.
Well, it's New England Studios, and they have, I want to say, 4 studio lots. So, they're huge, they're just enormous buildings that, each building is huge. And they will build one set. There's in New England Studios, there's usually one set per room. Yeah, there's one set per studio. So we were in the newsroom, and then if we wanted to go to Crafty, say, we go to the next studio over, and there were some of the apartments that they had built out for the victims.
Oh,
so, yeah.
Okay.
So it was
nice.
There, whoever, I wish I knew who did the sector. It's all in the credits, but the set decoration was just unbelievable. I mean, they take these big rooms that I had been in Spirited. I also filmed there, and they build a complete, he of course had a big townhouse or a big penthouse in New York City in Spirited, and you forget where you are. You're The
Right.
last time I was here, I was in this penthouse. Now I'm in this 1960s office. So it's amazing what they can, it's really amazing what they can do. And they build little spaces. It looks so real and it feels real. It felt like going back in time.
That is so cool. And that's what's so fun about this industry, about this job. It's like you get transported, you get to be there, and do these incredible things and live this fantasy. So I got to do 1 or 2 days on this on Boston Strangler. It was one scene in a bar where I'd been hired to do dancing.
Yes.
Yeah.
A friend of mine got that too. Yeah.
Right. It was like in South Boston in one of these like very famous little bars. And it was a great night. It was a great night. However, it was very cold. That's what I remember. And they made us change outside.
Oh, yeah.
In little tents. So it was like 20 degrees, windy. And we're like, down in our skivvies, like doing 3 or 4 costume changes because we were doing all the shots for the bar, in those 2 nights. So there's movie magic, and then there's, what goes into making that movie magic.
The reality of it all, which can be rough. And the studios are freezing because, the ceilings go up to the heavens and, but you are inside, but oh my goodness. Yes. I mean, I'm preparing to do 3 nights in a row, overnights, and it's going to be cold.
Yeah.
Cold. And again, it's, I mean, what we were talking about going back in time, having, between the costumes and the hair, you and I, in Boston, a lot of things have been going on in the 60s. So we've been have constant hair wigs. I did something that took place in the 30s. So I was wearing a wig. Now I've worked on the new Truman Capote show that's coming out called Feud, 60s, 70s, so you go back in time a lot. But now the newest project that I'm working on, I'm a cop. So it's, again, it is the fun part of the job. It's like, okay, now I'm this.
Right.
And
That's awesome.
That is kind of what brings you back, keeps bringing you back. It's like, okay, now I get to, it's not like any other job.
Yeah.
Today.
I wanted so badly to be one of the dead bodies.
Me too. But we didn't fit because we weren't enough or old enough.
That's right. Yeah, I know. The victims were older, but that's, on my my wish list. I want to be a dead body. I want to be a movie monster also.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I did. I got to play somebody who had changed over into like a zombie character.
Ooh, okay.
Black Friday, which so the makeup was amazing. I still have a picture of the makeup. So that was fun. And my friend Chelsea, who I believe she does stand in a lot, but she's always on set. Mm. And she got to play a dead body in Blacklist. So that was fun.
Nice. And it's principal pay when you're a dead body too, which is great. No lines when you get to be a principal pay.
She still gets residuals.
Oh my goodness. I know. That's awesome. So definitely on the wish list.
Yes.
What have been some of your favorite projects that you've worked on in New England, and any great stories you want to share with us?
Loved Spirited. You and I worked a lot on that.
Yes.
Long days, overnights, all that stuff. But, even I call my witching hour, and I start to fade about 4:00 in the afternoon, if it's not an overnight.
Yeah.
And you question everything. You're like, oh my God, this is getting tedious. This is getting boring. But at the same time, you think, but at the end of the day, and when you think about this, when you're not tired, is this going to be a great experience? And you think, and I just had that. Actually, I was on Sex and the City, and I had that experience. I was like, but ultimately, is this going to be fun? Yeah. So I had a lot of those experiences on Spirited. The 1800 scenes that you were in those were great. One day, I was a featured waitress in the tavern, and it was before a big dance number. It was for Good Afternoon. And my friend Alex was upgraded to, he got a line. And that was so exciting to see. Even if it doesn't happen to you, when it happens to a friend, it's just exciting. It's just like, wow, they got chosen for a line, and he actually had to slap Ryan Reynolds with his
awesome.
Yes. So it's so fun to see somebody have that experience. And of course, it's nerve-wracking. It's all of this. He has to wait a year to see if it made the final cut, and it did. But that was just such a special moment when he got that. And and then we went on. It was a very long day. We were shooting, a bar fight scene. And so all the stunt actors were there. The principals were there. It was fun. It was just so much fun. And it was long, and we missed lunch. It was just one of these days. But at the end of the day, it's like, wow, what an experience that was. That was that was probably my favorite day in New England that I can think about. I loved working on Dexter. Again, oh my God, there were some cold days that were brutal for the search party scenes. But we shot inside they kind of frequented a bar on that show. And we spent 2 days. It was actually hot. That's how it goes, especially with a show. It's like you go from being freezing at the beginning and now you're hot at the end. And we shot, it was supposed to be at night, but we shot during the day. And we were dancing, doing the electric slide with Michael C. Hall. And he was amazing. He was possibly one of the best people I've ever worked with, or been, I never acted with him, but he was just being there. His presence was amazing. I loved doing those scenes. And I stood in for Judith Light for Julia this past season. What a wonderful woman. I mean, maybe one of the nicest people I've ever met, never mind actor or actress or anybody in this industry. Wonderful person. And she's a mainstay. She's been around for a long time, and you can see why. She's an amazing actress. Just watching her was amazing. And then having her be so kind in between, as we moved, she'd grab my arm or she'd say, thank you so much. She was just so sweet. And that makes a big difference. Sometimes they don't even look you in the eye when you change, but that's okay. Every actor has their own experience with their stand-in, but she was the most delightful person I've ever met.
I love it. Love it.
All happened here.
So do you feel like there are more opportunities now, like growing in New England? Is it getting like more and more and more? Or do you feel like you can comfortably have a career here?
Well, that's a good question, because if the past 3 years, definitely, I've made insurance, I've made my pension, being a SAG member. And I haven't had to go to New York because, now with COVID, especially New York, they still do that day before testing. So if you get, hey, can you do this? Testing's tomorrow at 7:00 in Brooklyn. It's like, well, I can't do that. But in the past 3 years, it's been, you can definitely make a living, and they are doing more local hires as far as principal. And with the tax break now permanent, which is fantastic. If a show wants to film here, they know, and TV shows go longer than movies. So they're comfortable knowing that they're not going to, in the middle of filming, they're going to start having to pay exorbitant amount of taxes now because it's changed. Right. It's permanent. That tax break, that entertainment tax break, is now a done deal for the foreseeable future. So that's great. Right now we're slow right now, but I guess even New York is slow. They were telling me. I mean, obviously they're constantly filming there, but things, I think, because of the pandemic, they rushed to get a lot of things out very quickly. And now they're like, okay, we can kind of slow down a little bit. And, know, but with all the streaming services and all of that stuff, I think there's always going to be work.
Yeah. And we've talked about that a little bit, how now, like AMC, they pulled the plug on Invitation to a Bonfire. And, there's a little contracting going on.
There is.
But even so, now we're seeing like a little boom now that spring is coming and spring is springing. Oh. So what can people look forward to seeing you in the future, in the near future?
Okay, so there was a movie filmed here, not last summer, but the previous summer, I want to say. Again, it all melds together after a while, which is good. It means you worked a lot. Called The Mothership on Netflix with Halle Berry.
Yes.
It's called an RTX agent, and we were the federal government agents for UFOs. For
kind of like the Men in Black.
Kind of, exactly. And, because her husband, I believe, was abducted or left voluntarily. I'm not sure, but we talk about overnights, did a lot of overnights on that. And that is coming to Netflix eventually.
Yeah.
It was supposed to come out and then it didn't, but it was pretty high budget. So, with Netflix, I think they're just picking and choosing what they release and when, because they don't want to overload the service. So that will be coming out at one point. Feud is coming out. I don't know when, but that, I started doing that. That's the Truman Capote show. I did something on Sex in the City, and just like that, which I still call Sex in the City. It will all be Sex. It would always be Sex in the City to me. I got a feature with that with Sarah Jessica Parker in a bathroom. So that was fun. Yeah. Girls on the Bus. I was also featured on that with, I was the receptionist for the head of the company. So,
oh my, you're everywhere.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. As far as Boston, I think, the Mothership was the last one. Of course, you stood in on The Finest Kind, which is always a great experience. Standing in is a great job because you get to know the crew and the directors. It's a lot of fun, but I just precision drove on that one.
Right.
But again, that's another great gig you can get. Precision driving has become a thing. Where you have to try out sometimes. And that's, I know, for this upcoming movie that we're doing, this is the Casey Affleck, Matt Damon movie.
Right.
Quincy, it's called something else, but
The Instigators. Yep.
Instigators. Yeah. And that will be on Netflix as well. But, of course that just started. So,
but a number of great chase scenes and, other high energy, exciting, things that are going to be shot here in the coming weeks. So we're super excited for the Instigators. We can't. So we are very much looking forward to, seeing your next projects and, when we can spot you and, next to the big celebs coming up. So where can people find you on the socials?
Okay. So it's, I'm Nicole Johann Rand on Facebook. And I'm Nicole Endures, just like the word endures, ENDURES, on Instagram. And I do have a TikTok, but I never use it because I feel for it. But those are my two major ones that I'm on. And I do share what I can, when obviously, we can't share a lot while we're filming, but when we take a lot of pictures and when things come out, boom.
Right, exactly. Lots of exciting things to share.
Oh yeah, we'll let you know when things are coming out, and that's, you'll see behind the scenes pictures and the costuming and all of that fun stuff. So
right, Nicole, thank you so much for joining us here on the Hub on Hollywood. Best of luck in all of your future endeavors. We hope you have so much fun, and we can't wait to see you again. So, we'll have you on when the next big one comes out. So,
thank you so much. This is a joy. It's always a pleasure to speak to you, Jamie. I always have fun with you on set, and I hope we get to see each other soon.
I know. Hopefully, I'll let you know. I'll let you know when we.
Please do.
See you soon.
Yay! Yes, I love it.
And a big shout out and a big thank you to Nicole for joining us on the Hub on Hollywood. If you've worked on Boston Strangler or any other production that's filming in Massachusetts, New England, and Boston, reach out to us. We will love to hear your story, your experience, and your perspective of the local film industry here in Massachusetts. So, yeah, go check out Boston Strangler. Reach out to us at Hub on Hollywood.
And something else that you really don't want to miss, James, right now is the movie 65 that is in theaters right now, as we talk a little bit about what we're watching right now. I got to go see this film with a space alien, Adam Driver, who crash lands on Earth 65 million years ago with one little girl survivor who they then have to travel to their escape pod and survive all of these dinosaur encounters and other hazards of the early Earth. I thought it was super enjoyable. Here's my main takeaway, all right?
Okay.
65 proving that Adam Driver can be daddy too. Okay?
I was going to ask.
Pedro Pascal, move over, okay?
I was going to ask, is this like The Last of Us but with dinosaurs?
It's like The Last of Us with dinosaurs, and Adam Driver, my God, his eyes, his expressions, like the close-ups, I think there was really great cinematography. I think there were really beautiful shots of him and his little co-star, and I'm curious as to where they actually shot these exterior scenes, because it does look very true to, a very wild and early Earth, and I think they did a really good job of that. I do have a couple of bones to pick. My main bone to
no
pick
pun
is
intended.
With
a couple of fossils to pick.
Yeah, exactly. No, totally pun intended. I have a few fossils to pick with this, mostly to do with the dinosaurs. I don't think that they're quite at the level that would, CGI-wise, that makes me, happy to watch. It just felt like the dinos, they were not Jurassic Park level realistic. Let's just put it that way.
So were there any practical dinosaurs? Was it all CGI?
It felt like they were all CGI. And, with everything that we know about dinosaurs today, too, like the raptors had feathers and probably the T-Rex had feathers. Like, I felt like none of the new information that we know about dinosaurs was incorporated into these dinos. So just for a nerd like me, it just felt like, come on, this is really, like, where are the feathers? Like, it took me out of it a little bit. And I wasn't a big fan of the CGI, but I think it was a very solid story. I think Adam does an incredible job, and I loved watching him on the screen every single second. A solid plot. It was entertaining. It was enjoyable. So I recommend 65. I have a couple of other minor, bones to pick with it, but I don't want to go into like spoiler territory. And I felt like this could have gotten creepy. I felt like this could have gone into like creepy territory, but it doesn't. And I'm very thankful for the screenwriters that it doesn't go in that direction. So 65 in theaters now. I overheard one of my fellow moviegoers saying that this was the only movie worth watching in theaters right now, and wow. I'd say probably have to agree.
All right, well, let us know what you think. Have you seen 65? Let us know who is the bigger daddy, Adam Driver or Pedro Pascal. It's the battle of the daddies. Let us know down in the comments. Again, you can follow us at Hub on Hollywood on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, all over the place. And be sure to leave a comment on YouTube and leave us a 5-star review on all the major podcasting streaming services. Jamie, this is a jam-packed show with great interviews, great reviews, great just Boston filming news. I love it. I love that we're always in the spotlight because as we all know, Boston is the hub of the universe. But I think that's a wrap, Jamie. I think unless there's anything else you want to add, I think this is a solid episode.
Stick around for casting calls after this, but if we're saying goodbye to you now, adios. My name is Jamie.
I'm James.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Ba-da-da-da-dum. Here we are. in the part of the show where we try to get you in the movies. We have a ton of projects that are shooting right now in Boston proper, on the Cape. There's a few things getting underway in Rhode Island, too. We don't have those official casting calls yet, but we will soon. So first off today, we are starting with Boston Casting. They are looking for Asian couples in their 30s to 50s, non-union, pays $800 a person, is going to be shooting next month in Rhode Island. To be considered, please submit your name, contact information, photos, where you are based, and in the subject, write Asian couple / your name.
All right, Boston Casting looking for tough-looking men with acting experience for a feature film. They're looking for tough-looking men between 30 and 50 years old, in their 30s and 50s, physically imposing for this union and non-union gig. This pays over $1,000 daily or $3,700 weekly. This is shooting over a period between May and June. So if you are a tough-looking guy between in your 30s and 50s, send your name, contact information, headshot, resume, where you are based. Send all that to Boston Casting Headshot and Resume at gmail.com, Boston Casting Headshot and Resume at gmail.com, and in the subject line, put tough-looking actor / your name.
So tough. You're
So
putting
tough.
in for that, right? Yeah.
Oh, of course. I'm applying for all those roles.
Here we go. Boston Casting's also looking for string quartets. They're always looking for something interesting. That's fun. This is going to be shooting at the end of this month in Boston. To be considered, please submit your name, contact information, photo and bio, where you are based, and an example of your work to Boston Casting Submit 1 at gmail.com, and in the subject line write string quartet / your name.
Boston Casting also looking for someone who can play a teen boy who is 18 years old and older, but playing a teen for a supporting role in a film. You must be able to convincingly play a fresh, baby-faced teen with theater experience. That is a plus if you do have it for this union and non-union gig. Also filming from May through June, May 18th through June 21st. So send your headshot, resume, contact information. Send that to Boston Casting Headshot and Resume at gmail.com. Put 18 plus for supporting role / your name in the subject line.
Wonderful. And finally, Boston Casting again. They're looking for identical twin sisters who are 18 plus, but who can play teenagers for a supporting role in a feature film. You must be able to convincingly play a 16-year-old, but you must be over 18. Acting experience is a plus, union or non-union. This is going to be shooting from, what's next month? April through June, it looks like. So, to be considered, please submit your names, contact info, headshots and resumes, where you're based, to Boston Casting Headshot and Resume at gmail.com with the subject line Identical Twin Sisters / your name. Boston Casting also working on The Instigators. They're doing background on The Instigators right now, and a number of other projects. The Collaboration, one of them is called. So there's just a number of projects that are going through. Boston Casting is the biggest agency in town. So if you want to go ahead and sign up with them, you can do that for free. Put in your information, your photos, and you'll get emails that let you know when they're looking for folks for some of these big projects. Other casting agencies that you want to sign up for, we've got Slate Casting, LDI, Kendall Cooper Casting, Billy Dowd, so many great casting agencies that are specific to New England and have worked on the biggest named projects and the biggest films, of the last few decades. So many great opportunities here in New England that we will continue to bring to you here on the Hub on Hollywood, because we love you and you should love us too. So go ahead.
Absolutely.
Like us, love us, share us, find us on the Twitters, on the Instagrams, on Facebook, and everywhere else that you want to be. We're there waiting for you.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us for the Hub on Hollywood. We'll catch you next week. And until then, I'm James.
I'm Jamie. See ya.
Bye.